Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Dave, and today I'm joined by this nerd over here.
Nerdarchy Ted, how are you doing this fine and lovely evening, sir?
Good, good. I got all thrown off. It used to be that it was mirrored, so I'd have to point in the opposite direction to
Right.
point to you. Then it got fixed and wasn't mirrored anymore, and now it's back to being mirrored again. So I don't
See,
know. It might have been the last update with OBS.
it likes to have fun and keep you on your toes. That's all.
Yeah, for sure. So how are you doing tonight, sir?
I mean, I got, drenched in a downpour of rain this evening, a lot walking with my daughter. So that was loads of fun. But sometimes you gotta go out and go for a walk in dusk and see what happens.
Sometimes you have to do that, or to peddle your wares. Although I'd be a little leery of anyone showing up at Dusk peddling their wares, man. Matter of fact, that could be a plot hook. You
That
know,
could absolutely be a plot hook.
the salesperson that rings at dusk.
Hmm. So
So
shady business. It's probably a hag.
probably a hag. It is always a hag.
I mean, it could be a hag, it could be a vampire, it could be a lycanthrope. I mean, there's plenty of things that dusk is the natural state of things.
Yeah. Although vampire, I mean, we're right on the cusp for the sun at dusk. I mean, it could still be. I don't know. It still rays a sun that could like be burning them.
It's true, but that's when they could come out.
So I feel like they're waiting at that point. They're like, all right, any minute now, I'm going to get out
But
there and do my thing.
with the hag, I mean, there's literally a dusk hag. So
Well, there is that as well. Did you also search D&D Beyond to see what came up under the tag Dusk?
this time I didn't. I just I know that there are a
Yeah.
number of I've done some research lately. You know, and it's like there's a whole bunch of different options here. What can I do? Because when I was prepping for D&D in a castle, I was like, all right, what are some cool like tropes that I want to use? And hags was definitely an option. I didn't wind up using it, but when I was looking at the different layers that I could play with, I'm like, oh well, there's a dusk hag. That's pretty interesting.
There is a Dusk hag. So we have a bunch of news to go over in conjunction with also just doing the regular live chat tonight. One, you mentioned D&D in the Castle, so I think at this point we should mention we will be at D&D in the Castle, July 2023, 8th through the 12th, I believe. There is
Correct.
a link in the description to go sign up. Tables are already being booked, so you might want to, if it's a thing that you're interested, you might want to do that before they run out. Also, Easy Roller Dice are kind enough to be a sponsor of Nerdarchy and have been for a very long time. So whether it's your first set of dice or your 1 millionth set of dice, Easy Roller Dice for all your dice rolling needs. You can find a link and a one-time coupon code down in the description for a whopping 25% off. And also, they have a Kickstarter going on right now for their Dice of Giants Series 2, which you can go check out. Just click the link and you can, if nothing else, take a look at the awesome dice over there. They're humongous and they got the cool giant script on them, or their version of giant script.
Yeah, the
So
48 millimeter dice. They're pretty awesome. They're a monster when you start rolling them on the table. But if you happen to be a dice goblin or you like some cool dice to have in your collection, the new patterns that they have for series 2 are pretty awesome. There's 7 different flavors, if you will. I won't bore you with the list this time. You can go check out the Kickstarter page and do it. But they're going to come in D20 and D6 options.
Oh, nice. Mage's musings on the topic of hags. I'm currently pitting my 5e group against Anti Tree Shadow from the Out of the Box book. Yeah, we've got at least one hag encounter in there, if not two or three. So there's definitely a few of them. I mean, they're definitely a fan favorite.
Indeed.
Um, Also, so we're gonna be at PAX Unplugged. We'll be wandering around. We submitted a panel and we haven't heard anything back. So I don't think our panel got accepted. because I hearing other people are talking about their panels, so there's not that. We are planning on running some games of Zoo Mafia at PAX Unplugged, so if you want to come out and try Zoo Mafia, you can absolutely do that. That's something we want to do. And then also we have a bit of unpleasant news, and that is Doug is no longer with us. Nerdarchy has employed him since the end of 2019, and unfortunately, Nerdarchy's finances are a little shaky right now, so we cannot keep him on, which is very unfortunate. And the company will definitely suffer for the loss of his awesome editing skills. So there are some things that are kind of in flux that you may or may not notice. Like this week's newsletter hasn't gone out yet. It is basically together, and after this is done, I'm gonna get that out to everybody. If you are on the newsletter, and Ted wrote up a cool magic item, I decided to go with a feat. So some things to add into your game. There just might be more typos than you're used to. We're doing our best to self-edit. Also, the website has greatly slowed down as we kind of adjust to life without Doug, and we're wishing him the best, and hopefully everything works out with him. But that is just where we are, and I just wanted to keep you guys in the loop because you'll notice that he's not on our Those Bastards game anymore. He's more than welcome. But he ended up taking a job where he's unavailable. So hopefully once that his life levels out that way, maybe he will be back and grace our table, which would be awesome. So just so you folks know, that's what's going on. We've got some things we're doing with the Patreon. If you guys are interested, we've just put up a video today. Is where we're like making stuff with AI generated art. And so with AI generated art, you're not always sure what you're going to get, even though you try and get it to make something. And when we're taking the things that it spits back out of us and going, all right, what would this be in Dungeons and Dragons? And the Kate Sith is up today, and you can go check that out here on the channel. We did a write-up and a PDF for that, as well as the VTT token is over on the Patreon. The other thing is we have a bunch of subclasses that we're going to be releasing basically, one or two at a time in individual PDFs over on the Patreon. We'll do a video for them. We'll talk about it, and then it'll get into a PDF and go up over on the Patreon if folks are interested in that stuff. And it's just another way to help us out and help support Nerdarchy. And if enough of you do that, hopefully we can get Doug back sooner rather than later. With that, you have anything to add?
You mentioned D&D in a castle, like Dave said. The things are already selling. I know I've got, I got an email saying that spots have begun to sell at my table. It was only announced last Friday, so like Dave says, if you're considering, consider booking sooner rather than later. I know that we're going to be back with Those Bastards tomorrow, and we will be seeing potentially a new sibling. So that'll be interesting to see what unfolds there as we continue forward.
I agree, Corporal. AI is pretty good at making aberrations and other things that are very abstract. So tonight we were talking about Dusk because we did Dawn last week and ways to use it. I mean, a little bit in the beginning. Tonight we were talking about Ted peddling things from door to door via at around dusk time, and I feel like that could be a really cool adventure hook where something strange begins happening in town, and the only thing that's changed is there is some kind of door to door salesperson that is hawking their wares, or I mean, it even could be someone with like a push cart wagon that kind of rolls through town at dusk, hawking their wares, calling for people. And then let the mysteries ensue, and I think you could do it one of two ways. One is they are actually the cause of the problem, and it is absolutely them doing the thing. We just have to figure out what the thing is. We'll circle back to that in a minute. Or two, somebody else is doing the thing, and it just happens to be a coincidence, or it is planned that they're following this salesperson who only operates at dusk, making them look very suspicious and making them their scapegoat. Ted, what are they selling?
I mean, they could be selling anything. I mean, if you sit back and look at the different like background options, like you could totally be the the Schuster, like where you're selling the snake oil, whatever it is, it's a fake product. I know the one player in my game, he goes and buys uh like just basically silverware, the boring version, and then tinkers with it and is doing a sales pitch for the four-pronged fish hook. And he buys them for a copper and sells them for 2 silver. And it's like, guys are fourth level. Do you really think this is the profit margin you're looking for? But that's an enjoyment of that's what this player is looking to do. And I'm like, all right,
Which game is that? Is that the kids' game?
that's a kid's game, yeah. So that's our artificer.
He's trying to corner the market on four-pronged fishhooks.
Yes.
Yes, very interesting.
But I mean, it could very well be a legitimate product, whether it be, alchemical stuff or, legitimate magic stuff.
I'm thinking like anti-aging beauty cream. He's got to sell it at dusk because you can't, you have to keep it and store it in a dark, cool place. Can't
Mm.
expose it to sunlight or it'll zap out the magic. And when anyone confronts him that it doesn't work, he just accuses them of leaving it out in the sun.
Mm. That's a good idea. I think as opposed to like a cream, what if it were a powder? I don't know why I've got magic dust in my mind.
Dusk, dust. I don't know. It could very well be, but like, so I think the twist is people are like losing their faces.
Oh my.
They're waking up the next morning and they have like no face.
That,
So
that'd be pretty creepy.
somehow this dust or powder or cream is stealing their faces, and the question is the traveling salesperson actually the one doing it, or is it someone's making a mark of his marks?
So I like to think that he's probably the unwitting accomplice. So there's something trailing along behind it, whether it be some new creature that is out there, something undead, something fey, some undead fey maybe, that is lurking doing these things. And there could be a number of crazy reasons why it's taking faces. Uh, like, are they seeing a skull? Is it like just blurred out, kind of
No,
like?
no, I'm thinking like smooth skin, and I feel like you could go one of two ways, right? One, it's like an it's just an illusion,
Mhm.
but like they look in the mirror and they see they don't have a face. They can still see, but when other people look at them, they don't see a face. And if I mean a really complex illusion could fool them tactilely as well.
All right, so let's. If I'm gonna narrate my version of this story, so you've got this Schuster, and he hoodwinked the wrong person, some time ago. And there's one thing about being able to call someone to task and what have you, but it's another to just like out and out destroy his business without being aware of who's responsible. So what he's hawking doesn't really have any power whatsoever, and he's making a small pittance for whatever it is that he's doing. But a powerful spellcaster is using magic to kind of follow along behind, and anyone that's buying his cream or buying this powder, he's putting this powerful lasting illusion on them, whether it be via spell or via some kind of magical potion or item that he's using to make this effect last, just to keep this guy running out of town and whatnot. And it's doing it for the perverse pleasure of messing with this guy. There's my take.
See, I would go with it's a Fae because it just seems like a thing a Fae would do.
Sure.
And they're just like, whatever, this guy pissed them off. So
Right.
now they're just pranking everyone he sells his stuff to.
I mean, that can absolutely work.
Andy says that he's stealing their faces, steal their identities. I like that too. If you go the other route where that is actually they're losing their faces,
Right.
like if you go into his wagon, there's just a bunch of faces hanging on the wall on hooks or something that he
See,
can pop off and put on, kind of like the faceless man.
I feel like that guy needs to have clientele from like all walks of life. But like, so when you eventually find out it's him and you look in the wagon behind the secret panel, of course, because wagons always need to have that kind of thing. Are you know the faces are labeled, and not only are there the names there, but the little notes. Like, I mean, there could literally be like a cheat sheet, or like a whole journal as to who these people are, manners of dress, even like things of down to ticks, or things that that they do. So the mannerisms, that's the word I'm looking for. So like that would be like the final, nail in the coffin. Like, all right, well, you've got the faces and you've been acting as these people. That could be crazy.
Oh, awesome! Am I alone? Oh, hi guys! First time I've been able to catch you live. Your song has been my ringtone for years. Sweet. My other idea is like, what if what if he steals the faces and then resells them, and you can put them on and experience parts of parts of the person's face's life, like whether it's their the most tragic thing that's ever happened to them, or the best thing that's ever happened to them, and it
Mm.
becomes this like one use item that they could be used almost like a drug.
No, that's definitely a different way of thinking.
Well, it's kind of like man, there was a movie where it's from like it's a couple decades old, and they would like have recordings from people's lives, but it was like from their experience because they would download them from their brains, and um and they had like a snuff version where people
Oh,
would
jeez.
where it'd be like someone like they're illicit, right? They're selling like their last moments or these like gruesome deaths or whatever. That's kind of like what made me think of it, and it's really annoying me that I can't think of the name of the movie. It's not Johnny Mnemonic, but it's kind of like that,
Right.
or Mnemonic.
Mnemonic, yeah.
Yeah, like a Quantum Leap style. Yeah, kind. Oh, Strange Days. Yes, that was absolutely it. And like it was mostly illegal, but I think there was some that were legal. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie. But also, it's like anything that is significantly sci-fi enough, you can generally take that and convert it to magic somehow and use those same storylines.
I would agree.
So what do you think is the reason why like the salesperson only operates during dusk? I do have some ideas for that.
Well, I mean, the first and foremost is, when there's less light, there's less ability to pick out details of the salesperson, but there's also less less light to pick out the details of the product itself. So you can definitely have a lot more shady angle of things, or have, a crappier disguise and be able to get away with more.
I feel like it's an extraplanar being that can exist both on the prime material plane and the plane of origin at the same time, but only at dusk. 'Cause you got like what is that, like an hour window essentially?
Essentially.
And yeah, so they use that window to hijack the faces.
That could work.
And also like they can appear anywhere on the prime material for that hour. So
Yeah, that's the great part about, like these kind of ideas is like can literally go in so many different directions. It's just like, all right, how do you want to take this? How do you want to spin this? Because it's an infinite layer of choices.
I also feel like it's the bridge between the Vale of Dreams, Andy Simpson. Nice. I um I also feel like Dusk is like the perfect time to also ambush the party.
Yeah, because they're settling down. It's kind of like, all right, it's the end of the day.
Trying to find a spot, whether it's a tavern or a place to camp. And then the next thing you know, someone's trying to stab you in the face. And also, I feel like everything is like dim light at that point as well.
Correct.
So it just makes it easier.
Less chance to notice things. All that deception checks.
uh June, son of Jack. Hello, didn't know you have a live. Yeah, we've been doing this every Monday for a couple years. For a little while anyway.
It is what it is.
Andy Simpson, maybe Dawn as well, make it a Lady Hawk Street. I was kind of thinking that mentally as well, like having the Dusk and Dawn, the time periods. But maybe like one of them is for collecting and one of them is for hawking. Like at
Yeah.
dusk, you're making your rounds to try and collect the faces, and at dawn, you're kind of showing up to certain clientele.
What if it's a multiple personality thing? Like at
Mm.
dusk, somebody else.
Oh, that's true. The appearance might change. Might change. Don't worry about it, son of Jack. It's just YouTube. They friggin' hate us. But we don't worry. We recorded them all for you, so you can go back and watch.
They're all there.
They all are there. There's also a lot of magic items too that recharge at dusk. Not as many as dawn, but
Hmm.
like the ones that seem to have like darker elements to them tend to recharge at dusk. And then the other thing that I kind of think about is the Shadowfell. I love those kind of like transitional planes that kind of overlap the prime material, and I feel like you know dusk and dawn would be time periods when the vows kind of thin. Like Andy was saying about dreams, but I feel the same way. But I feel like Feywild would be dawn, and the Shadowfell would be dusk. So like if you wanted to run a campaign or run an encounter or a short adventure where you send them to the Shadowfell, having them just kind of wander in by accident at dusk, and them having to figure out how to get back. Like maybe they have to find their way back to that exact location at the exact same time again, so they can wander back out.
Yeah, that could. Pardon me. That could actually absolutely be a lot of fun. Having time limits, allows for the pressure to sink in on both the players and the characters. So I enjoy doing that on occasion.
Yeah, and like time limits can be fun. You'll also like if it's like, oh, the party is getting ready to settle in. They're trying to figure out where they want to make camp, and then all of a sudden, K elves. They're elves now, right?
Hmm.
Um, start popping out of nowhere, fighting them, take something of theirs, and then retreat. And so when they chase them, they end up chasing them into the Shadowfell unknowingly.
Yep.
And then then they have to figure out like why did they take the thing they took? How can they get back? Um, they might want to interrogate them to figure that out. Or, depending on the timing, like if it's towards the end of of when they can cross over, they look behind them to see like the landscape is completely different
Hmm.
and where they were doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, that can be so much fun. I can't, yet another topic that I've been looking at. The Shatterkai are really interesting. I did an article about the Shadowfell and Shatterkai riding um, like a Shadowhound scenario, and then I'm getting ready to write the second part of that that article where there's like the Shadowkai Shadow Summoner, and is definitely a lot of fun to be able to play with those kind of darker, shadowy, dusky kind of aspects of the Shadowkai.
Yeah, and I mean also too, like any of the races that are kind of like darker or gloomier fit really well into the Shadowfell. So you can
Mm-hmm.
use that as a way to kind of introduce them. I think like a different version of Drow would work really well that aren't necessarily evil or associated with Loth. Make them more emo than evil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it just really depends upon like what specifically you're looking at for um you know what aspect of the Shadowkai you want to use, and whether you want to have them only have that hour to get in and out, or whether you want to like lure them in there and have them trapped until the following dusk, and really see all of those aspects. I think that could be you know uh, the two very different kinds of sessions.
It's also funny too. We've shot the video. Probably won't go up for a little while, but we did another one of our AI generated AR AI generated art videos where we're going to do a location, and it may or may not tie heavily into the Shadowfell at some point. So, from that standpoint, like maybe they have to find a Nexus location because they can't go back the way they came in, and
Mhm.
figure out how to get back to the prime material plane. And that's always fun too because it's like you do that and they get back, but now they're like on the other side of the continent or the other side of the world, and they have to figure out how to get back to where they were before if they even want to.
Right.
But it just completely changes everything up.
Yeah, I think that works as well. I mean, I don't want to give away any secrets of that video ahead of time.
Yeah, that'll probably go up maybe next month or so.
Sometimes we just have to hold on to it and just tease.
So, Ted, you want to weigh in on this?
I don't have the chat open, so why don't you read me the question?
All right. So, Lemmy, lock and key type game would be amazing.
Huh. I wonder how that would go. So I actually ran a lock and key inspired game at D&D in a castle. I combined my typical Betrayal at House on a Hill game that I run as a one shot where like you're stuck in the house until you solve whatever the problem is. And I used a lot of magical keys as kind of a rule set that were hidden and scattered about the house. I actually made a key construct that could actually use the keys as well as take keys that people were using. And then I added aspects of like planar travel that some of the keys, gave abilities, but it could also be used to open up, portals or like transport where you were into that location, a la like Stranger Things kind of thing with the upside down. So I've done it. I had a lot of fun with it, and I think my players had an absolute blast with it.
So, how many keys did you end up introducing or using?
I want to say that there were a total of 24 keys at the end of the game.
And how many did you actually make?
I think I made like 30, though some of them were modified keys from items that are in the Mage Forge, because
Okay.
Keys of Danger series. Um, so like I modified them so like they had additional powers within the House of the Forgotten Past.
Oh, so they had power specific to the house in addition to
Yeah.
what they did.
Hmm.
Nice. This weekend was pretty busy for gaming. I don't know about anybody else in the chat what you guys got up to, but I had a bit of a dry spell for gaming for a bit, and then it crunched it all into this weekend.
Well, I had a game Thursday, a game Saturday, and a game Sunday. So it was like woo. And it was jam packed. I mean, usually when that kind of stuff happens, it's not all D&D, but this time it was like
Yeah. I
and
also had three games, two of them Saturday, and then one of them Sunday.
the Thursday night game was the Dawnbringers, and that was kind of the herald of the end. We I won't give you too much detail, but you definitely when Jake puts that up on YouTube, you definitely want to go check that out. Um, because we fought a lieutenant of a Chardalon, and if you're
Uh,
with D&D lore, he's pretty much the most powerful red dragon that's out there, and we've been kind of hinting that that's the campaign ender. So at some point in time, we're going to go have to fight that dude. But we certainly don't have the power to do it now because his lieutenant whooped our asses.
you read the Finder trilogy, the Finder Stone
Yeah,
trilogy.
yeah, yeah.
Was that a shadow line in that
Chardalon,
series?
I don't think so. Um, but it's been so long since I read those books. I could not tell you a whole lot of detail. Um, and then Saturday was my game, which is the We Live on a Boat, and it's got a rather corny name. And right now you're not living on a boat because I broke your boat.
You did, jerk.
The last session I ended with them in a you know terrifying storm with their ship being Titanic being split in half while they were out in the middle of the ocean. So this one was kind of like, all right, you know, an end of fight slash skill challenge scenario to fight for survival and rescue as many people as they could before trying to make their way to land. And they were pulling out all the stops, using as many powers, trying to save key NPCs, trying to figure out who the captain is. And they get to shore and they think they've got a moment to rest. And they essentially beach on this island that they didn't see the sea giant, but they found out that this island of Patera um, is the home of a sea giant who likes to destroy ships or steal ships or what have you. And they fought a ship golem that was infused with necrotic energy. And out of the five players, one of them was this close to down, and two of them died, or not died, but dropped, in the death of said golem.
Yeah, that was kind of mean. The necro golem made of junk.
It's the necrotic ship golem is what I called it. As a awesome mini that I got a while back from one of the Reaper Bones Kickstarters that I backed. I got it painted up real nice. I was like, all right, I need to get all of my cool aquatic stuff, painted and put into this game and be able to, showcase it. Because when am I going to do this kind of stuff again? Because like you can't just put a ship golem in the middle of a dungeon or the middle of nowhere without it making some kind of sense. But like in a game all about boats, yeah, I'm using that stuff.
I know where you use it. Use it in a ship museum. Think about it. All the boats and stuff just start all shaking and shaking apart and then coalescing together into the ship golem.
You could certainly do that. Trust me, I know that there are more than one way to use it, but when I pitched the idea and you guys like, I want to do the We Live on a Boat game, I then went and said, all right, let me pull out my aquatic stuff that I want to use here and put it forth.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you have a ton of it that you're like, this is never going to get used. But now you have an excuse to kind of use it. Can use those 17 turtle dragons I know you've been dying to use.
I've got a handful of dragon turtles, or giant turtles, or what have you, and like those things are like, all right, dragon turtles not a small thing, um, so like you have to be very careful how you use those, especially because like you guys aren't super high level. So
No, no. Although I wasn't worried about my character surviving after the shipwreck. I figured he'd be all right.
you just walk across the bottom and hope the Kraken doesn't eat you.
Pretty much. Hey, he can swim. That's fine. He's got his turbines.
It's turbine.
It's arcana turbines. It's fine. Lemmy, it sounds like you almost have your own adventuring party. You just need to age up that little one a little bit. Perhaps if you could find a Rod of Withering, you can get them all aged up so that you start playing and running games for them.
That could work.
It could work for sure.
I mean, Sunday,
that's what Ted did eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I've got two nephews, my two kids, the one gamer friend that is in your game, and his son, all gaming together for my kids' games. So there's one adult to wrangle the 5 kids as players. So
are you counting Josh as a kid or the one wrangling adult?
No, he's the adult wrangling.
Yeah.
But then we had your game on Sunday, which is our post-apocalyptic motorcycle gang under the dome.
Yeah, you guys had to do a little bit of a rescue mission, preceding a investigation. So that game is all over the place.
So what was the name of that carrion crawler that died? We've got a Thrycreen. I don't know whether ally is the appropriate word, but business contact that we're trying to sell his wares. He's got a carrion crawler mount, an ankeg, and then 2 giant centipedes. And every time we meet this character, Dave goes through this long list of names, and I'm like, nope. I think this is all punishment for Analasa.
For your elven names. Yeah, script. You got Gick and Guk, and then you got. Although we don't have rep no more.
So I couldn't even write any of that down. Like Gick and Guk, but the other stuff, I'm like, forget this. My character doesn't have the best of intelligence. They're not people, so he's not gonna bother. I'll talk to the humanoid looking thing, and that's about it.
Well, so you guys were doing like an investigation in the early part of it, and like that stuff all I kind of made up on the spot and wasn't really planning on doing that. So like they're trying to find a body that disappeared, and they're pretty sure that the body is undead now or something. Yes. Or resurrected, or you guys are entirely sure. I think you guys are leaning towards some kind of undead.
I think we think it's undead. That's at least what Ted thinks. I don't know what Vel thinks. I don't know. I mean, he pretty much thinks whatever Clutch tells him to.
Yeah. So you guys start doing this investigation, which I hadn't planned on doing yet, and so I'm like, well, if they're gonna do stuff, I might as well make it meaningful.
Right.
Because like it's so lame when DM's like nothing, no, nothing. And I did a little bit of that for some of the stuff. But only because I didn't think that it was feasible, right? That you would know that stuff or be able to find that stuff. But for the stuff that was very feasible, like I'd rather put stuff out there. And then I'm like, all right, well, they left a calling card for you guys. And someone's like, I cast Detect Magic on it. And I'm like, all right, fine. There's something magical about it. There's magic script, and it's a cipher. He's like, can I crack it? I'm like, well, you really need the cipher key. But he's like, well, some people can crack it. I'm like, you can try. So I'm like, all right. In my mind, I'm like, okay, DC 25. That should be sufficiently hard. And it missed by 1. And I was like, oh, good. Because I didn't have the cipher yet. But now I have a month to come up with one. So
that's that's the thing. When we look at the D&D 1 stuff, it talks about like don't make them roll if they can figure it out.
Well, I never do. Like if I ask for a roll and
Right.
you roll, something's going to happen one way or another.
Right. But what I'm saying is that, like if you have it, I know you're a fantastic improv GM. You know, I know with a lot of things like I can't tell whether it's something that you've prepared or whether that's something you're coming up with on the spot. So like I wasn't aware that this was not things that you had set up, didn't set up already in advance. So when it's like, all right, he's got a roll, and like he says 24, and you're like, nope, like he missed it by one, didn't he?
Yeah, like I didn't think it was 30 supposed to be impossible. So I'm like, it's not a 30, but I think cracking a cipher on the spot with basically nothing to go off of whatsoever is very, very hard.
Right.
At the very least.
Sure. And like for us story wise, that adds a little bit of tension, and make it more enjoyable. So we have to.
Yeah. But because he did get so high, I did give a clue that you guys just didn't have a chance to investigate yet.
Right.
And now I have to figure out what that clue means myself. So
sure. And you've got time to figure it out. And we still have to figure out when that group is gonna meet next, because as we to the end of the year, there's all kinds of scheduling problems.
It is that is the true enemy of all games is scheduling.
Well, I mean it's why we take off from gaming in December.
It's pointless. With all the holiday stuff going on.
You've got multiple religious events and activities that happen. You've got family get-togethers. You've got people working extra hours to make extra money to cover what they're spending for the holidays. So it's like, it's just easier just.
And then Saturday mornings, I get together with an online game that we play that's not streamed, but it's kind of like a bunch of different RPG industry and personalities, I guess. Which they're always a ton of fun to play with. And we're going through the realms of dread right now, and I think we're in the Red Death one. So it's like two different murder mysteries we're trying to solve, and basically like our like overarching mission is to go to the realms of dread, find the Dread Lord, the Dark Lord, and then we have to destroy them in order to briefly give the residents of that dread realm a respite, from the time that they're destroyed to when they reform. But ultimately, we're trying to find the souls of Strahd's family, because if we can collect them all, like Pokemon, we can then destroy Strahd forever, and maybe the Dark Realms. We'll see. Or I think one of our characters is going to become the next Dread Lord. Who knows? It's all of which is very possible. I'm kind of vying for my Iron Defender to become a Dread Lord.
You're vying for the Iron Defender to become a Lord. That's pretty crazy.
Well, when we were in the Eberron one, which is just a train basically, there was a symbiote, and I had him slurp it up like a noodle. And it was I forget which one. It's the worm. So I think it's like a thought worm or something. But basically, it gives him the ability to speak and understand dark speech.
Okay.
Which is his only language now, because it's an Iron Defender. And also, he's got he can cast. I think he casts 2 spells. One of them being Detect Thoughts, and something else. So occasionally, Thomas will just blurt something out in dark speech that nobody understands.
So, is this your kangaroo?
It is the kangaroo, and it only makes sense that a kangaroo will become a Dark Lord anyway, a Dread Lord.
Yeah, they
are pretty evil. The more you learn about kangaroos, the more you realize they truly are abominations.
All right, there's a there's a new monster, a kangaroo abomination.
Yeah, I should. That should definitely be one of the AI generated art things we go for. Is I'll start use a bunch of prompts revolving around kangaroos, and see what we come up with.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I could definitely get behind uh, a, a Custodian Kangaroo.
I mean, we did create one kangaroo beast type monster already in our fantastical mounts product.
Oh yeah, I mean the Kangaram is awesome. I honestly don't remember if that one was mine or somebody else's, but I definitely dig them. I've been saying this for like a month. I've got an idea to expand upon the fantastic mounts.
Uh,
I have not written that article because it's a little bit more in depth because I want to write it in the same style. So it's got to have all of the different, training things and, you know, as well as the stat block, as well as like what market goods are, based around this thing. So yeah, I just have to get off my ass and do it.
I did do a kangaram article. It's a knighthood, and I don't remember other than I did it, and it was a while ago.
I'll have to find that because I dig the Dranthers, and the Dranthers were definitely yours. Um, but I haven't seen much with anyone talking about or using the Kangarams, and I think they're probably at the moment my favorite of the new mounts that we created for that.
They're definitely pretty unique. Andy has a question. I get bored in investigation campaigns. What do you do to spice them up? So I want to say in our games, like for example, the game we were just talking about that I run, I want to say Kurt and Ryan are probably the most into that kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
My guess is you're somewhere in the middle.
Yeah,
Mark is not interested. I'm not sure. I don't know Josh as well. Um,
Josh Josh is probably closer to where I am, but I feel Josh is like the newest to this particular group. So like he's still trying to, I guess, get his sea legs.
mhm.
With this particular character, he's playing a goblin, I know, uh, Path of the Beast barbarian that currently has a symbiote or psionic child living in his head. He's got a lot of things on his plate, so trying to figure out that plus be a stupid goblin during an investigation. He's like, all right, I don't know what I really add to this. I'll be hustle and just be quiet until I have to hit this.
Well, yeah, in that game, like Kurt's character is also dumb, but I know Kurt would be into it more.
Mhm.
But he's playing a character that wouldn't. I actually don't like investigation campaigns to play in
Mhm.
them. I get bored, like yourself. Matter of fact, right now the whole dread realm we're in right now has been all investigation, and I am bored with a lot of it. But I know a lot of the other players really enjoy it. So like it's me, not them. And I know
Right.
eventually we'll move out of this area and we'll be doing something else.
The
And the GM is doing a fantastic job, so it's not like a slight against the GM or anything.
right with your game, the investigation that's going on is linked to Kurt's character. So Kurt himself has bought in much more so than his character would normally be in that
Uh,
style of thing because most of the players in this game are most of the characters. I was going to say the players are idiots.
all the players dump their intelligence.
the
The characters are fine though.
the characters, we've got one genius and a bunch of morons. So
Yeah,
it's an issue with our those bastards game. Under the Dome is worse. We are motorcycle gang, and like I said, most of us are stupid. And we got 3 8s and a 10 besides our 18 intelligence. So yeah. So we just do what the law says, and that's just how it goes. But
yeah,
you're talking about being involved in an investigation game, and neither you nor your character is into it. That's when you turn to party dynamics. Is somebody into the game? that your character, or sorry, is one of the other characters involved in the story that your character cares about? That's where you attach yourself to that aspect of the story and help out as best as possible. And sometimes when we're playing a collaborative game, sometimes it's not going to be about the things that you're there for. I've had combats that suck, I've had investigations that suck, and I've had times where the DM wants to go on like an expose on their lore, and I'm like, all right, somebody at this table is really enjoying this. I'm gonna just shut my mouth and I'm gonna let them do them. And at some point in time, things are gonna be, where I'm more involved and I'm happier at the table. So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna sit back and be here. I'll be present, try to pay attention as best as possible, and be there for your team. Be there for your
So also too, like if you're talking from the DM's perspective of how to spice them up, is it's really like pulling on the individual threads that the players' characters would be interested in, therefore the players would be interested. That is the way to, spice it up, make it more interesting. Also, don't be afraid to listen to what your players are saying. And like if they throw out the ideas that you didn't think about, but you think they're really cool and you like them, steal them, use them, implement them, and let them feel like they're geniuses for figuring it out. They don't need to know that you just changed it because you like their idea better. Um, and like the other thing is too is to know, like, you never feel compelled to need to run a certain type of game because you haven't run that before, or you feel like you need to diversify your gaming portfolio, unless you want to. Like, if your group just likes doing dungeon crawls and you like running dungeon crawls, there is no reason
dungeon
to not
crawls.
run the dungeon crawl, right? So like if you don't have fun running investigations, then unless your players are really into them, then I would just limit how often you add those elements. But if they are really into it, again, you could do it. Just do it to a limited extent because you're a player too and need to have fun. Don't sacrifice your fun at the expense of everybody else's enjoyment. Try and find the middle ground. And maybe you can start with like really small investigations and not do like sweeping arcs or long adventures based around them. And you can like slowly introduce it to kind of get a feel for what you like doing as the DM.
To kind of tag into what Dave is saying, absolutely 100% right. Do the kind of things that you enjoy as a GM. And then as a GM and as a player, when somebody says something at the table, like those things are absolutely excellent. And there are many times nowadays as a player, I absolutely throw out ideas, even if they're to the detriment of the party, if it's going to spice things up. I was saying something, I don't remember the specifics this weekend, and literally, two or three of the players were looking at me like, "Don't say that. Dave will do something with it." I'm like, you know what? He's, if he wants to use it, I'm here for it. Like, I feel like as a player at the table, throwing out ideas that could be interesting does not all have to be on the DM side. I can help with creative ideas if it's something that I feel like coming from
Well,
what the player would say, like a character would say, even if that prompts an idea to the DM who's listening.
kind of to that effect too. Like in one of our very first 5e campaigns, Ted was running and he had this like big plot twist planned, and you had confided in me. You're like, hey, I was going to do this, but one of the players just guessed that, and like he guessed it like really super quick, like early in the game, like way before Ted would have even implemented. He's like, should I change it now? And I was like, well, I mean, you're the GM and do what you want, but I wouldn't. I would just let them have it.
I I don't even remember what that specific plot twist was at the moment.
It was the mayor, the half elf mayor.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Um,
being with the bad guys.
yeah.
Ah, okay. Um, that was a very long time ago. But I mean, that, yeah. So like, I've grown a lot as a GM, since that point. But I
Well,
mean,
let me ask you a question because I don't think we ever really talked about. Do you felt like the game lost anything because the player had figured it out like
not at
really
all,
early?
not at all. Like, you showcased like that number one, and you said it already. Like the player having figured it out, even if the characters in the game don't have a clue, a player saying something until it actually is revealed, it's speculation. And when you game with people who have been gaming a long time, sometimes people just talk and they can throw out ideas, and you know you put 1,000 monkeys in a room and they type for 1,000 years, you're eventually going to get some wacky, crazy stuff. You put a bunch of gamers in the room and you just get them talking, you're going to have a bunch of crazy theories, and not all of them are going to mesh with the plot line that's going on, but some of them are going to line up with what the DM has out there. And, that's part and parcel of, what this game is and can be. So it was like, all right, sure, you can have people speculate and guess, and when they figure out, hey, they're right, awesome, or hey, you use their idea, well, now they feel a little smug because they guessed it, even if they literally were the one that put the idea in your head. Doesn't matter which way it is. um but I feel like that game was awesome. I think I ran like 48 to like 54 sessions over the course of 4 to 5 years. It was a lot of fun to play, and those twists and things that happen. If a player guesses them, all right, cool. If a player doesn't guess them, all right, cool.
So a couple questions come in. Charlie using YouTube. Hi, not sure if any questions are welcome, but I have been working on YouTube project where I go over a D&D class and different ways to build them, but I don't know if it was worth spending the time with one D&D in the making. So I wonder if you think people would still be interested in D&D builds. Also, have you had any recent cool D&D character ideas? Well, chat, let you Charlie using YouTube know what you think about continuing with 5e content with one D&D on the horizon. What is your opinions? You can throw that in the chat. Personally, we're still making 5e content, and we'll make 5e content up until we switch to one D&D. If we switch to one D&D, I imagine we probably will. We've switched through all the editions. It doesn't look like one D&D is doing anything that's going to be completely drive us away from it. Matter of fact, some of the things that we've seen are pretty cool. Some of the things we've seen are kind of sucky, and we'll see.
and
We'll see what the final product looks like.
and some of the things are what we're already doing with our games, like with how
Yeah.
inspiration is used. um so like, yeah, I would say, you know
Also, it's 2 years away, so I
yeah,
mean, if you
well,
want to sit on your hands for 2 years, you can. But
at this point in time, I would say it's probably closer to like a year and a half. It's sometime in 2024.
yeah.
Um, now I would say with every split of D&D, even third to 3.5 kind of
Well,
thing.
when's the D&D movie come out? I feel like it's gonna drop like right around then.
With every split, there are people who are like, "Nah, I'm not buying new books. I'm sticking with what I got," and that's just how it is. You've got people who still play first, still play second, still play third, still 3.5, still Pathfinder, Pathfinder 2e, 4e, 5e, 1D&D. Like it's there's gonna be groups dedicated to whatever edition is out there, and that's what has already happened. So I can't see there being a not group that's like, nope, I'm gonna stick with the books that I've got here, and that's what it is. For us, we're probably going to do as we do. We'll check out one D&D, and we'll play it for a while. And if it's, I mean, it's supposed to be compatible with 5e, so it's no matter what they say, it's gonna be a 5.5, 5.5, whatever you want to call it. Um, so we'll play it, and if there are things that we don't like about it, we'll homebrew to what is going to work for us and our table.
So Anthony, hey guys, I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. I'm a level 5 Monster Slayer Ranger, level 1 Rogue. I don't know if it would be good to level up more in Rogue or not. Would love your opinion. Well, 2 levels of Rogue is always better than 1 level of Rogue because that's when you get your cutting action, which is really good, and then at that point you're almost to your subclass. So
You want to get your subclass. You want to get another sneak attack die. Well, then you're 1 level to the next feat, so you might as well take feat, and then you're 1 level to your next sneak attack die. It's
and an uncanny dodge too, right? Is that 5th level? I think.
I think so. Rogue is one of the best classes in the game. My character I made a while ago was 5 level ranger, 15th level bard, 15th level rogue. Um, and the amount of sneak attack dice and expertise and stuff that he got, he was definitely one of my most optimized and awesome characters that I played as a uh I don't even remember what archetype he was for Ranger, but he was an assassin. And that was the character called Eyes, who was yeah, I had a passive perception of 27.
He probably was a hunter.
Yeah, that was it. This was before anything outside of Player's Handbook, I want to say.
Yeah. So I mean, you can't go wrong with taking more levels of rogue, but you can also continue a ranger as well. So
It's gonna
I
be
will say Monster Slayer is one of my least favorite ranger archetypes, though. So I'm a bit biased in the other direction.
mechanically, what are you looking to get out of it? Role play, what are you looking to get out of it? What's the style of the game? Like all of these things are gonna kind of weigh into the equation, but I feel Rogue is mechanically superior to Ranger, unless like the party's relying on your spells to do some cool things and the occasional heals.
But also, like, if you want more spell access, you could go Arcane Trickster, right? And then start stacking your spells levels together. But then you're going to win at least one more level of Ranger because it's a third of your level to add your levels together.
Right.
So there's that. But I don't know. Either way, it's fun. Whatever you think is going to be fun. So we're going to head out. Before we do, we got a bunch of links in the description. We've got D&D in a Castle. If you want to play D&D in a castle with me or Ted, there is a link down in the description for that. Easy Roller Dice plus that sweet promo code for 25% off your first purchase. There's also a Kickstarter for Easy Roller Dice going on, so you want to check
48 millimeter dice. They're awesome.
Ted and I will be at PAX Unplugged. If you want to come out and play some games with us, please do. We will be running Zoo Mafia. We just got to figure out the details for that. And we'll also be roaming around. So Ted usually has a big N emblazoned upon his chest.
Yeah, if you look around, if you look around social media, you'll see me in my Nerdarchy armor, as it's kind of been called. So you'll see the N emblazoned upon my chest. I've got my mimic bag, is always on my my right hip, which I'll turn the tables on you, and if you come up and say hi, I'll ask you to sign my book as opposed to me signing your out of the box or whatever else that's out there.
Whatever else you want to sign. Got some new things going on Patreon. We put up our King of Cats stat block and PDF over there, as well as the VTT token that just went up today. We're going to be putting up subclasses over there. Our first one that we will be putting up over on there is the Stygian Ranger. Who knows where we'll go next. So we got some things going on. If you want to go check them out, check out the description for those links. And until next time, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.